size of this particular hangar. It's a very big facility. And I have an interesting report from a General Electric engineer who has been retired for 30 years, but in 1989 he was part of a very interesting operation that took place at Air Force Plant 42 Palmdale, where they were towing this B-52 in an underground tunnel which connected Air Force Plant 42 to Edwards Air Force Base, approximately 35 nautical miles as a crow flies. And there was a parasitic aircraft that was lying right onto the upper surface of the B-52. But what he told me is, as they were going down this tunnel, there were 4 separate shafts that were connected to the main shaft. 2 of these shafts ran north and 2 of these shafts ran south. One of the shafts that ran north, he said, was twice as big as this original shaft, and you could put 2 B-52s side by side and still have 6 feet on either side of the wingtips. Just an incredible underground tunnel facility. Now I've termed this particular slide the keepers of the secrets. This is the leadership of Lockheed Skunk Works. Kelly Johnson was the founder. He was superseded by Ben Rich, Dick Hep, Norm Nelson, then Sherm Mullen. Frank Capuccio is now the current head of the Skunk Works. Of course, Kelly Johnson and Ben Rich and Norm Nelson are no longer with us, so if anyone knows the real inside story of classified aircraft programs and what's going on right now, this is the man to see right here, Frank Capuccio. Now, they originally had a hydrogen-powered aircraft called the Suntan, which was eventually scrapped. It was a paper airplane design, but you'll notice here that they have almost the same dorsal and ventral tail arrangement that was used on the F-19. So we do have a pattern recognition in that location. Tag board design was the D-21 drone launched from the top of the SR, also called the M51. That was also airdropped from a pylon off of a B-52. This is the procurement of how the Have Blue led to the F-117, some of their radar cross-section ranges in Helendale, California, that I'll be showing you in a few minutes. Here is the Nighthawk, first operational low observable aircraft. Ben Rich, again, was the Advanced Development Projects Agency VP. Norm Nelson was the project manager on this particular program. Let's just put it this way. We have things flying in the Nevada desert that would make George Lucas drool. Lockheed Skunk Works Rock Canyon logo, again, this insignia here. The F-121 Super Sentinel was used as a unfriendly interceptor being launched from Tehachapi, California at a place called the Ant Hill using a very interesting field propulsion system called the magnetic field disruptor. Now what they're doing here is they're taking liquid mercury, they're pressurizing it to 250,000 atmospheres, they're rotating it at 50,000 RPM. There is a resultant decrease in the localized magnetic field by up to 89%. That means that the multi-mode impulse rockets that you see here only have to propel 11% of the craft. Now the G-forces are also lowered by 89% too. Now there's been a lot of controversy surrounding this particular propulsion system. There's some good physics reports that talk about spinning vortices of liquid mercury, and we also have the ancient Sanskrit texts from India talking about Vimanas and how these particular craft also used flowing, rotating vortice fields. So this technology dates back a lot older than we might actually think. The 1980 December 29th report of the Cash Landrum incident that took place near Dayton, Ohio, Dayton, Texas actually, I consider this to be one of the most rock-solid UFO cases in history. Betty Hill, Vicki Landrum and a small child were driving down a paved road. They came to a stop and saw this particular craft, which was about 90 feet in length. It looked like an inverted double ice cream cone configuration. There was a broad section here on the circumference mid portion of the craft that had portholes. Obviously they weren't portholes. There was, to my knowledge, nobody inside. There was another purpose for that, but there was a strange section down here that started spewing sparks and flames and actually burnt